Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to do something that might sound a little bit counterintuitive. We're going to look at a map of the world, but we're going to try to ignore the geography.
Which is a very difficult thing for the human brain to do. We're wired to see land masses and borders.
Exactly. I mean, when I close my eyes and picture the world, I picture the continents, right? The countries, and, usually the big dots. The places where the most people are. You see a city with 20 million people, a Lagos, a Mumbai, a Sao Paulo, and your brain just instinctively says, okay, that's a center of power. That's where the action is.
It's almost a biological default, really. We equate mass with gravity. If there are that many people huddled together, surely they must be running the show.
But that's the hook for today. We're basically taking a red pen to that mental map. We're looking at a whole stack of research data ranging from 2024 all the way through projections for 2026 that suggest the actual hierarchy of the world is, well, almost invisible.
Right.
It doesn't care about population size. It doesn't care about national borders. And in some cases, it barely cares about the country it happens to be sitting in.
We are talking about the global city. And you're right, this isn't about geography anymore. It's all about connectivity. We're going to be looking at the nodes, as they're called, of the global economic network.
And just to set the stakes here, we aren't just going to list cool cities to visit on vacation. We have a mission today. We're going to decode why, despite Brexit, despite the rise of Asia, despite, everything we hear in the news about the changing world order, two specific cities are still sitting in a kind of VIP lounge all by themselves.
That's a very, very exclusive club.
And we're also going to figure out why lovability, yes, literally how lovable a city is suddenly a hard economic metric that, I guess, investment bankers now care about.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
And ultimately, we're going to ask a question that borders on political philosophy. Have these cities become so powerful that they've effectively sort of stopped being part of their own countries?
The city-state theory. It's a fascinating place to end up, and the data, I think, really does point us in that direction.
So let's unpack this. We have a lot of sources today. We're looking at the JWC classification, which is the academic gold standard, really. We've got indices from Kearney, Oxford Economics, the Mori Memorial Foundation in Japan, and Resonance. It's a full spectrum of data from 2024 to 2026.
It's the most comprehensive look at this urban hierarchy that we can get.
I want to start with the vocabulary, though, because global city, it feels like a marketing term, doesn't it?
It does.
It feels like something a mayor puts on a glossy brochure to try and get the Olympics or, convince Amazon to build a headquarters there.
Sure.
But in the documents we're looking at today, this is a rigorous academic definition, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a term of art in economic geography. And to really understand it, you have to decouple size from function. That is the hardest hurdle for people to get over.
Okay, so decouple it for me. Why isn't size the same thing as power?
Okay, think of it like a computer network. You can have a massive hard drive that holds a ton of data. That's a city with a huge population. Millions of people, stories, businesses, a huge repository.
Right.
But if that hard drive isn't connected to the internet, if it can't send or receive information rapidly, it's only locally important. It's globally isolated.
So it's a repository, but it's not a transmitter.
Exactly. A global city, on the other hand, is the high-speed router. It might be physically smaller. It might even have fewer people than a megacity. But every packet of information, every dollar of capital, it all flows through it.
So it's a primary node. I see that term in the research.
That is the technical term, yes. A primary node in the global economic network. And the definition we're working with today is that a global city must have direct, tangible effects on global socioeconomic affairs.
Tangible effects. I like that phrasing. It means it's not just about influence or, soft power in the abstract.
No, it means consequences. If a decision is made in a boardroom in a global city, a factory could close in Brazil, a stock market rallies in Tokyo, and a fashion trend starts in Milan. The output isn't just local. The blast radius is planetary.
This feels like a very modern concept, like post-internet, post-globalization. I assume this idea came about when we started wiring the world with fiber optics.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? It feels that way. But looking at the history in our notes, we're way, way off on that assumption. The connectivity might be digital now, but the concept of the world city is actually Victorian.
Wow. 1886. That's the date in the notes here.
May 1886, in the Illustrated London News.
And they weren't talking about London, which is the really funny part.
No, they were describing Liverpool.
Liverpool, which for anyone who only knows Liverpool for, the Beatles or football might sound bizarre. Why Liverpool in 1886?
You have to look at the context of the British Empire. Liverpool was the pivot point. It was the hub of global trade. Cotton, tea, spices, manufactured goods, people, it all flowed through those docks.
Right.
And the article in the Illustrated London News defined Liverpool not by who lived there, but by its external connections.
Ah, so that is the seed of the modern idea right there. A city defined by who it talks to, not just who it houses.
Precisely. Liverpool was sort of the beta test, and the term then bounces around academia for about a century. Patrick Geddes, the famous sociologist, he uses World City formally in 1915.
Okay.
But the framework we are using today, the one that actually governs how corporations choose where to put their HQs, that was really solidified in 1991.
This is the Saskia Sassen book, right?
The Global City, New York, London, Tokyo. That book changed the game. Before Sassen, urban planners and sociologists were just obsessed with megacities.
Which is the sizing again.
Right. Megacity's been around since 1904. It's strictly a numbers game. It describes high-density urban sprawl, the sheer logistical challenge of, housing 10 million people in one place.
Right.
Sassen came in and said, stop counting heads, start counting money, start counting the flows of information.
She shifted the focus entirely to function.
Yes. She argued that in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the economy was becoming all about specialized services, finance, law, advertising, tech, and those services were clustering in very, very specific places.
So if we want to put it on a bumper sticker, a megacity is a lot of people. A global city is a lot of power.
That is the perfect distinction. And sure, sometimes they can overlap. Tokyo is the ultimate example. It is both a massive population center, a megacity, and a massive power center, a global city.
But they don't have to overlap.
Not at all. Look at a city like Zurich or Geneva. Tiny populations relative to a megacity like Cairo or Karachi, but they have massive global city status because of banking, diplomacy, international organizations.
Okay, so we know what it is. It's a node. It's a router. Now I want to know how you get in. If I'm a mayor of a mid-sized city, say I'm the mayor of Denver or Manchester, and I want to level up to become a global city, what's the checklist? Because the source material here breaks this down into pillars.
It's a mix of variable and, fluid criteria, but there are 4 absolute non-negotiables. If you don't have these, you just aren't a player. The first is economic, but it's specific. It's not just having rich people or a high GDP.
Okay.
It's about having the machinery of capitalism.
So we're talking stock exchanges.
Stock exchanges are the engine, yes, but it's also the headquarters of multinational corporations. And crucially, it's the density of international financial services.
Define that for me. What counts as an international financial service?
It means you need the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
You don't just need the bank. You need the law firm that understands international maritime law to write the contracts. You need the insurance giant that covers global shipping against piracy.
Right.
You need the big 4 accounting firms to audit the books for shareholders in 3 different continents. It's the entire infrastructure that allows capital to move safely across borders.
So it's really the plumbing of the global economy.
Yeah.
That plumbing isn't in your city. The money just gets stuck.
Exactly. Pillar 2 is influence. This is about trade dominance. Does your city control a region? Do you make decisions that your neighbors then have to follow?
Okay, so you have the money and the power. What's pillar 3?
Infrastructure. But again, globally focused infrastructure. Major manufacturing is good, but you need the ports, these massive container facilities. And in the 21st century, you absolutely need digital dominance. You need to be a media hub. News has to come from your city.
Like a CNN, a BBC, and an Al Jazeera. You need the broadcast towers.
And the server farms. You need to be a hub where information enters the global network and leaves it.
And the 4th one is the people. Human capital.
Yes, and this is where it gets really interesting, sociologically speaking.
Yeah.
You cannot be a global city if you are monocultural. It's just impossible.
Why is that impossible? Wouldn't a really efficient, unified culture be good for business?
Not for global business. Because you are connecting to the entire world. If you want to do business with Jakarta and Berlin and Sao Paulo and Nairobi, you need people inside your city who speak those languages, who understand those cultures, who know how to negotiate in those contexts. You need high diversity.
So diversity isn't just a nice to have social policy here. It's a hard economic prerequisite.
It is a strategic asset, 100%. You also need the top-tier universities to attract and cultivate that talent. The whole brain drain phenomenon is basically global cities sucking the smartest people out of everywhere else to maintain that human capital edge.
I want to make this concrete for everyone listening. The source material gives us a breakdown of Manhattan as the alpha prototype.
Yes.
Let's look at Manhattan through this checklist.
Yeah.
Because when you list it out, it's almost conical how perfectly it fits.
It's the textbook definition. If we look at the economic pillar, you have the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. That's not just a bank. That is the literal heartbeat of global finance.
Okay.
Political influence, you have the United Nations headquarters. I mean, that is the literal definition of an internationally political organization. You have the actual room where the world meets to argue.
That's a big one.
Cultural influence, you have Broadway, you have the Met, you have the Guggenheim, you have MoMA. These aren't just local museums. They are world-renowned institutions that set the global agenda for the art world.
And then you have the landmarks. Times Square, the Empire State Building.
Exactly.
I mean, you can show a picture of the Empire State Building to someone in a remote village in almost any country, and there's a very good chance they'll recognize it. That's branding power.
That's the brand. But the key, and this is what Sasson really emphasized in her work, is the density. You have all of that packed onto one small island.
Right. You can literally walk from the UN to Times Square in a half hour.
Exactly. And that creates what they call an agglomeration effect. The banker meets the diplomat at the gallery opening, and they have dinner at a restaurant run by a celebrity chef who just flew in from Paris. That friction, that physical collision of different industries creates innovation and power. It creates a gravitational pull that is very, very hard to replicate.
Okay, so that's the definition. We know what we're looking for. Now I want to get to the competitive part. Who is winning? We have data ranging from 2024 to 2026. Let's start with the JWC. You mentioned them earlier, the Globalization and World Cities Research Network.
Yes. Based out of Loughborough University in the UK, they are, I would say, arguably the gold standard for this specific type of economic networking analysis.
And they have a very specific way of ranking things. They don't do number one, number two. They use tiers like alpha, beta, gamma.
Right. And their methodology is fascinating. They don't care about how nice your parks are or if your subway runs on time. They only measure one thing: international connectedness. They look specifically at advanced producer services, so accountancy, advertising, banking, finance, and law.
So they're literally mapping the office networks of these big global firms.
That's exactly what they're doing. They map how firms in these sectors connect cities to one another. If a top law firm in London has a massive office in New York and they are constantly sharing work, that's a very strong link. If they have a tiny satellite office in a smaller city, that's a weak link.
So they're tracing the invisible wires of the corporate world.
Precisely. And based on the 2024 edition of their data, there is an incredibly exclusive tier at the very, very top, the Alpha++ tier.
Alpha double plus. How many cities make the cut?
Only 2.
Just 2. In the whole world.
Just 2, London and New York City.
That is staggering to me. I mean, we hear so much about the Asian century. We hear about the decline of the West. We hear about the chaos of Brexit in the UK or political polarization in the US. And yet, the hard data says these 2 are still sitting alone at the top of the mountain.
It speaks to the incredible inertia of institutional power. You can't just build a 300-year-old legal system or a global insurance market overnight. London and New York are the twin engines of the global service economy. They are so deeply wired into the system that even, major political chaos hasn't knocked them off that Alpha++ perch. Not yet, anyway.
They are, in a sense, too big to fail as cities.
In terms of their global connectivity, yes. They are the supernodes.
Okay, so who is knocking on the door? Who is in that next tier down, the Alpha Plus tier?
This is where we see the rest of the heavy hitters. The Alpha Plus list includes Beijing, Dubai, Hong Kong, Paris, Shanghai, Singapore, Sydney, and Tokyo.
That is a powerful list. And it feels much more balanced globally, I have to say.
It does. It really reflects the global spread of power. You have the Asian giants, Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Singapore. That confirms the economic shift to the east. You have the Middle Eastern hub in Dubai. You have Europe represented by Paris. And you have Sydney anchoring the Oceania region.
It really shows that this global city status isn't just a Western phenomenon anymore.
Oh, not at all. The weight is shifting. But let's look at how the rankings change when we switch indices. Because while JWC looks purely at connectivity, other groups look at different things. This is the battle for number one.
Right. And we have a few different scorecards here for 2025 and 2026. Let's start with the Kearney Global Cities Index for 2025. What's their vibe? What do they measure?
So Kearney is looking at global engagement. They measure 27 different metrics across 5 dimensions: business activity, human capital, information exchange, cultural experience, and political engagement. So it's a bit more holistic than just law firms.
Okay, so who takes the crown in the Kearney Index?
New York City is #1, followed by London, then Paris, and then Tokyo.
Okay, so that's pretty consistent with the alpha concept so far.
Yeah.
New York and London leading the pack.
Then we have Oxford Economics, also looking at 2025. Now, they rank the world's largest 1,000 cities, but they put a very, very heavy weight on economic factors.
I mean, economics is in the name, so I'm assuming they care about GDP, growth, income, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And New York loves that kind of weighting.
Yeah.
Oxford Economics also ranks New York City #1. London is #2. But here's where it gets interesting. Oxford places San Jose and Seattle in their top 5.
San Jose and Seattle, that's the Silicon Valley and,
Yeah.
well, Amazon and Microsoft.
Exactly. If your metric is purely economic output and tech dynamism, those cities just rocket up the list. They generate an obscene amount of wealth per capita. But you won't find them in the top 10 of some of these other lists that value culture or history more.
That's a great point. It all depends on what you value. San Jose might have the money, but does it have the vibe?
And that brings us perfectly to the Mori Memorial Foundation. They are based in Tokyo. Their Global Power City Index for 2025 has a different winner entirely.
Oh. Who wins the Japanese ranking?
London is #1.
London beats New York.
In the Mori Index, yes. Followed by Tokyo, then NYC is 3rd. Mori often values that cultural interaction and accessibility very highly. London tends to score incredibly well on things like the number of international visitors, major cultural events, and ease of travel.
So it's kind of the soft power index.
In a way, yes. And then we have one that sounds even more, well, emotional. The Resonance World's Best Cities ranking for 2026.
Resonance is interesting. Their methodology includes categories like lovability, along with livability and prosperity.
Yeah, lovability.
That sounds like a metric from a dating app. Is this city lovable? I mean, what does that even mean in an economic study?
It's about the experience. They measure culture, nightlife, dining, the vibe, as you said. They look at social media check-ins, online reviews, the quality of public parks. And in the 2026 Resonance ranking, London is #1 again.
So London seems to be winning the popularity contest.
It does very well on the soft power metrics. Resonance ranks NYC at #2, Paris #3, and Tokyo #4.
Now, a hard-nosed economist, maybe someone from that Oxford economics team, might look at that and say, who cares if the city is lovable? That's not power. Power is money.
But that economist would be completely wrong in the 2020s.
Explain that. Why does lovability matter to the bottom line?
Because we live in the era of mobile talent. The creative class, the coders, the bankers, the artists, the entrepreneurs, they can increasingly choose where they want to live, especially with remote work still being a major factor.
Right. If you can code for Google from anywhere, why live somewhere ugly or boring?
Exactly. If a city is unlovable, if it's just a concrete factory for GDP but has no nightlife and bad food, the best talent leaves. If the talent leaves, the companies eventually follow. If the companies leave, the tax base collapses.
So lovability is actually a leading indicator for economic retention and talent attraction.
It absolutely is. If you can attract the best minds because your city is beautiful and has great food and culture, that eventually translates into hard economic power. And that's why you see cities like Madrid, Rome, and Barcelona cracking the top 10 in the Resonance list.
Madrid, Rome, Barcelona, those are cities people want to be in.
High quality of life, incredible food, great weather. They might not have the stock exchange volume of New York, but they have that magnetic pull for human capital.
It's the difference between a city you have to go to for a meeting and a city you want to move to for a new life.
And the Alpha plus cities, London and New York, somehow managed to be both. That's their secret sauce. You have to go there for business, but a lot of people also want to go there for the culture and the energy.
Let's talk about those outliers again. We mentioned San Jose and Seattle being high on the money list, but maybe lower on the culture list.
We can call those specialist global cities. They are hyper-efficient engines for a specific industry. San Jose is tech. Seattle is tech and logistics. But they lack the generalist power of the top-tier cities.
Right. London isn't just finance. It's also media, fashion, politics, and education. It's like a diversified portfolio.
Exactly. If the tech industry has a major crash, San Jose is in deep trouble. If tech crashes, London shrugs and pivots to insurance or tourism or law. That is the resilience factor.
And what about Dubai? You mentioned it was on that Alpha Plus list.
Dubai is a fascinating case study in manufactured status. It appears in the Alpha Plus list, and it also appears in the top 10 for both Maori and residents.
So it has really cemented its status then.
It has. I mean, think about it. Dubai didn't evolve over 1,000 years like London or Rome. It was built with a specific strategic intent to become a node.
Build it and they will come.
And they did. It successfully positioned itself as the node connecting East and West. It's a major air hub, a major financial hub for the entire region, and a luxury destination. It basically went down the checklist we talked about earlier and ticked all the boxes. It made itself indispensable.
I want to touch on one more specific index before we wrap up the rankings. The Global Financial Centers Index, GFCI, for 2025. This is for the money nerds.
This is pure finance. It uses over 29,000 assessments from finance professionals. It tracks where the money actually lives and moves.
So who wins the bank account war?
New York City is #1. London is #2.
Boring. Same as always.
But look at the rest of the list. Hong Kong is #3. Singapore is #4.
So Asia is completely dominating the pure finance game right behind the big two.
Absolutely. And look at San Francisco at #5.
Wow, San Francisco cracks the top 5 there.
All that venture capital, the tech money, even if the city has other well-publicized issues, the sheer volume of capital flowing through it is just undeniable.
And I noticed Shanghai and Shenzhen also make the top 10 for finance.
Shenzhen! That's a city that barely existed 40 years ago.
It was a fishing village, wasn't it?
Essentially, yes. And now it is a top 10 global financial center. That is the sheer speed of urbanization and globalization in China. It basically didn't exist. And now it runs the world's hardware industry and handles these massive financial flows.
So if we step back and synthesize all of this, we've looked at the history, the checklist, all these different rankings. When you look at this hierarchy of strategic locations, what is the core truth here?
The core truth is that the world is wired through these specific points. And while the lists vary slightly based on whether you care more about GDP or nightlife, a clear consensus exists. New York and London are the current Alpha plus heavyweights. They are the supernodes of the system.
But the definition of power itself is expanding. It's not just about stock exchanges anymore. It's about environment. It's about that lovability factor.
And it's about resilience. The cities that can combine economic might with a high quality of life are the ones that will stay on top. The cities that are just factories or just tourist traps will probably fall behind in the long run.
It makes you wonder about the future of the nation state, doesn't it?
That is the big question, I think.
And that's where I want to leave our listeners today. We've been talking about these cities as if they're these independent entities. And in a way, aren't they?
That is the provocative thought. We call it the city-state theory.
Walk me through this.
Well, think about a senior banker in London. They probably have more in common culturally, economically, and lifestyle-wise with a banker in New York or Hong Kong than they do with, say, a farmer in the north of England.
Right. They eat the same kind of food. They wear the same brands. They trade the same stocks. They watch the same shows. They live inside the global city bubble.
Exactly. They are part of a transnational class. And these cities, they generate a massive percentage of their nation's GDP. They're the economic engines.
So the tension is, do these cities really belong to their countries anymore? Or have they in some sense outgrown them?
It's a tension that plays out in politics every single day. The global city versus the nation. You see it in voting patterns. The cities vote one way, the rest of the country votes another. The cities want open borders for talent. The country might want protectionism.
We saw that with Brexit. London voted overwhelmingly to stay in the EU. A lot of the rest of England voted to leave.
That is the perfect example. London was voting as a global city. It wanted to keep its connections open. The rest of the country was voting as a nation. It wanted sovereignty.
So are we heading toward a future where these Alpha plus cities become independent city-states in all but name, serving the global network more than they serve their own nations?
It's a tension that isn't going away. As these nodes become more and more powerful, the tether connecting them to the nation-state gets stretched thinner and thinner. We might look back at this period as the time when the map really started to change, from one of countries to one of cities.
Something to chew on the next time you look at that flight map in the seat back pocket. The map isn't nations anymore. It's just lines connecting dots.
And we are just living in the spaces between them.
That's it for this deep dive into the urban hierarchy. Thanks for listening.